So today I saw someone making fun of the 2-decade-long legacy of Adobe Flash and software created in Adobe Flash. And that basically making light of the fact that browsers have basically made it impossible to use, have made it obsolete because of some vulnerability that Adobe didn't really treat in time, which is on Adobe too. But myself and several friends have really felt kind of the death of Flash and the ways that it's been hurt as of late. And it's deeply felt because there's this deep history here, and there's a whole lot of Flash games that have really, really resonated with me and have been important to me. And the one I'm playing right now is Don't Look Back by Terry Cavanagh. Basically, when I was thinking about Flash and games that deeply resonated with me, I thought of games like Dysphoria, Tower of Heaven, Redder, Super Zalixer. But this is the one I played kind of before all of those. This was a game that I played the year it came out, I think in 2009, and when I was a kid, believe it or not, and along with games like 7 Minutes and Kuroshi, just kind of changed my world a little bit. It doesn't really seem like a whole lot now, because there are because the short story-driven platformer genre with portentous music is sort of a little more blasé nowadays, but this game really grabbed me in a deep way. And I said 7 Minutes, which is funny because when you play 7 Minutes or in my game Quarantine, you can obviously see that there's a connection there, and there's obviously kind of a connection with this game and my game Fugitive, with the single screen platformer with the gun and kind of portentous music and a story, and even some of the architectural things. Like I ripped this exact set piece with the darkness for one section of Fugitive. So this game kind of solidified in my mind that idea of that kind of model of silent storytelling and sort of basic video game language coming together to tell a neat little story. And it's something that's kind of informed all of my games ever since. Basically, like another game that really influenced Fugitive was Metroid 2, because that's another game that kind of is the same type of model as this game. It's just that it's greatly expanded over a much wider, expansive game. But this was also just the idea that you can make like a 10-minute long game and it can be beloved. I mean, I make it a lot shorter than it seems to be because I've played it a lot and I know my way around it. But the idea that you can make this tiny personal game and people will love it, because people loved this game on at least the websites where I was. Like, I heard about the game on The Escapist, back when The Escapist was like a place that was maybe actually worth paying attention to. And that really was important to me. And I didn't make anything really of this scale for years afterwards. But years later, I still was being informed by this language, because this just kind of got at me in such a meaningful way. Some of these areas here get a little obnoxious with some of the things, and that's kind of the funny thing, is that playing it now, some of the video gamery stuff just kind of is a little annoying, but just that idea that stuff can be used as a tool to convey kind of an interesting narrative. And just that attention to music and atmosphere and the kind of ambiance that the game is presenting. Like, play any of my games, you can see the ways that Don't Look Back's language just kind of informed all that. This area is pretty cute here. I like these enemies. I think this is the only time where there's infinitely respawning enemies. And this guy's behavior is pretty cool too, because he only shoots at you he does shoot at you without you firing a bullet, but when you do hit him with a bullet, he fires another one, and it's basically impossible to dodge if you just go in guns blazing, which they used to good effect in the later area. I also just love this whole game's... I think this is one of the most annoying areas, and I got screens and I got past it in my first try. I think one of the coolest things, most striking things, beyond that attention to detail, is that attention to ambiance, is just the aesthetic, because I'm not sure, but I think it might just be 3 colors, 3 shades of red, plus the black. And that's really... And it's not just that, but the fact that the game doesn't use any tiles as far as I can tell. Each screen is, while obviously painted with a very simple palette, it's final boss time. It's put together individually, and it gives the whole game this nice little handcrafted feel to it that you don't really get when you are working from a tile set. And you can still get that joy of seeing like a bunch of tiles that are placed very meticulously, but here every screen is unique, and that just means a lot, I think. Ooh, and I think we got him. There we go. So at this point, you're probably wondering like what the heck this game's narrative is that affected me. And the thing is, when I first played it, I enjoyed it deeply, mostly for the music and the fact that you can make a game that with big orchestral blah blah blah. But is one of the first times where I actually had to think about a game. Well, yeah, it's one of the first times where I was really thinking about a game afterwards and wondering what was I supposed to get out of the story. And the silent approach here really works because this is actually a story everyone's familiar with. As a kid, I grasped it after seeing it mentioned in the comments. I think as an adult, I would have figured it out and appreciate it on that level. But this is a retelling of the Orpheus myth. The idea of going down into the underworld to go after a loved one. And if you look back, if you do in any of these screens, if you look back, she disappears and you restart the screen, which they use as a cute mechanical challenge, actually. And they being Terry Cavanagh, like I realized after I recorded the video that I was doing 2 Terry Cavanagh videos in one Let's Play challenge. But I think it's cool to see like these 2 completely different sides of his design comparing with Super Hexagon. And because this is an explicit retelling of an ancient story, and it's not just Orpheus. It's the Sodom and Gomorrah myth. It's Izanagi. I sound all smart mentioning those, but I just found them on the TV Trips page. But it's that video games could kind of be classy like that. That a browser game could be classy. There's when you go on Newgrounds, there wasn't a whole lot of that back then. And this was leading the charge towards a lot of new stuff. Like Passage came out before that, but that was a Game Maker game, and that was a little different. 7 Minutes was a Game Maker game. That was a little different. This was on Congregate. And oh wow, this one's a little nuanced here. And it just blew my mind. And I think Today I Die by Daniel Bergabud. I'm not going to try to mangle his name, but Today I Die came out that same year, and that was another game. It was like 3 minutes long, and maybe a little better, but in a way that didn't resonate with me as immediately. It's an interactive poem, kind of puzzle-y thing that's very short and very heartfelt. And none of the games by that developer since have resonated with me quite the same way. But Don't Look Back was the start of my relationship with Terry Cavanagh's work, and I really appreciate it for that. And there might never be a game that I make that isn't informed in some part by my relationship with this game, which is why I picked it for this week, because the theme for the competition was important, and I don't know how important this game is on a global level. Here's the Fugitive thing, the Metroid 2 thing, where we're circling back to the beginning of the game. Because in real life, we can't go into the underworld to get the person back out, which is kind of what that myth's saying in the first place anyway. So this was a game with like a melancholic conclusion and a lovely, classy aesthetic and story, and it's just has meant a lot to me. I really do think it's an important game in a sense, and I hope you all enjoyed kind of watching me express my feelings about it.